Yo, it says we're live. It says we're live. It says we're live. My name is Jessie Sponberg, and I believe we are live. Welcome to Coffee and Bong Hits. We're going to run our little intro real quick. Take this opportunity to go share this with your friends and loved ones and even people you don't like. And we'll start the show super soon. Hey, everybody. Let me see if I can, let me see what I can fix here. Uh, let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and try to start the show. Um, uh, so let me see. I gotta close this. Sorry. Okay, it's me. Can y'all mofos see me yet? Let me say something to Diction real quick. Praise both. Okay, so I'm still having some computer difficulties, which is gonna make everything kind of hard today, but also whatever. Uh, okay, let's play our intro then, right? We gotta at least play the intro to start the show. Okay. Makes you want to hide my face. Look, I didn't even done my hair yet today. I don't know where my spectacles are. I'm a huge mess. I was great. Look, I got a mask and a thing right here. Um, so this morning I was doing really good, and then I started to leave the house, and then I realized I was out of gas. So I stopped at the gas station for a fill up. Because if you're not filling your tank up every time right now, man, I'm telling you, something else is coming. Something else is coming. Every month, something else. So when the aliens come, when the big UFO is sitting over top, you're gonna be mad if you didn't get gas. Okay, so fill up every chance you get and pretend pretend that the halfway tank is empty, and when that shit gets to halfway, put more gas in it. You're gonna thank me later. You might not thank me today, but you will thank me later. I promise. Man, it's kicking me out of. But let's try this again. Yeah, it says my whole internet probably kicked me off over here. Let me see if I can squeeze back on here. Sorry guys. I promise when we figure this all out, it's gonna be so beautiful around here. It's gonna be so nice. Yeah, it kicked me all the way out the internet. Okay, hold on. CACTS. Okay. All right, next. It'll pop us back in, and then we'll be able to do some fun shit. I feel like maybe before anything goes wrong, we should just go through my Twitter feed. We should just start right away. Like, oh no, there might be some other cameras that could pop up. Look, this little camera over here already shut down too. I think all my extra cameras shut down, as a matter of fact. Yo, what's up, Ian? What's up, Adam? Good morning, Marty. Hello, Alexis, Erica, hello, Presto. What's good, team? Okay, let me just tell you guys before anything else gets out of hand, I got a couple announcements. One, you can buy all your dope ass merchandise that states your political beliefs and shows that you wear working class streetwear by going to standupandfightback.bigcartel.com. That's how you get the good gear. Sorry you guys, I'm trying, man. I think I got another camera set up, but I bet this other camera angle is gonna look the same as that camera angle. So oh, we'll figure this out. I promise. Because I got some shit. I want to show you guys. Like for real shit, I want to show you guys. Not just my Twitter. But there's something on my Facebook I really want to show you guys too. So let me see if I can make that work. We're gonna give it a try. Yo, and Diction's posted up in the back just looking like a cool dude. Y'all can't see Diction, but I can. Whoa, why is my picture so crummy? What is that one coming from? Oh no, you're coming from right there? That's my rear facing cam. Okay, let's do this now. Okay, I'm back on the regular cam. Let's mute that mic. Oh shit. Okay, so I think we're back. Like I just typed, this shit is hard. Welcome back to Coffee and Bong Hits with Jessie. Hey, you guys know when I was in Texas, I had to change it to coffee and bug spray because I was too concerned with people in Texas getting mad. Sorry, ADM. Good morning, Angela. So yeah, in Texas, you used to get in big trouble for having weed. That doesn't mean I didn't smuggle weed down in Texas. Oh, happy 710 day, everybody. Happy 710 day. Hold on. Sorry. It's funny. People message me about stuff that I already know. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it's 710 days. So look what I brought. I got a Rick and Morty bong that I won because I completed the dab challenge, the Dirty Dab challenge on Dirty Dabs with my man Dirty Black and Jimbo and Jim Bonus Beats. And so I got this awesome Rick and Morty bong, but I didn't notice it didn't have a thing. So I was going to smoke out of that today, but man, let's just bring Diction in, man. He's just sitting there. It's too early for the Diction interview, but we might as well just bring him in. What's good, player?
Up, man? How you doing?
Hey, is your oh, you know what? I need to put on some headphones. I can't even hear you. Hold on. I think people can hear me, but I can't hear you. So let me dig up some earbuds out my kangaroo pouch real quick.
All right.
Man, so the things I want to talk to you guys about that are in the news today is, first of all, they've gotten pledges from a veto-proof majority of the city council members in Seattle to sometimes I forget which laptop I'm using. So they got a veto-proof majority from the council in Seattle to defund the police department in Seattle by 15%. Okay, Diction, say something.
I read an article that said it was 50%. It's 15.
No, it's 50. What did I say? 15?
Yeah.
I always mix that up. I spend too much time in Chinese restaurants.
No, it's all good. I'm just glad it's still 50. That's a lot more significant, which is dope. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why, but it's crazy that Ted's not like even budging even slightly.
No, all they did was pull 15 million from our budget. Let me do this. Let me turn off. We don't need this one. There we go. That was just
All
me
right.
and my Fran. Hello, Fran.
Hello.
Hey, can somebody from the other room give me the stem for the bong that I left over there, please? You know what? I'm gonna have to take a tiny little break from the show. Hold on. I gotta take a bong. Oh, there it is. Fuck. I'm one of those dudes that really doesn't need to smoke any more pot. I'm like a crack baby, but a pot baby. My mom smoked it when she was getting pregnant with me, when she was pregnant with me, when she was breastfeeding with me. Then when I grew up, she used to give me weed. Yeah, I'm definitely a crack baby for weed. Hey, does anybody notice I cut my own sides today a little bit? You can't really tell.
That's good. If you cut your own hair and people can't tell, that's a good thing.
Right? It's better than my quarantine cuts. So what are you doing, Diction?
Man, I've been up just reading, basically. I woke up hella early this morning, so I've just been doing a lot of reading. I was listening to some stuff on the Law of One. I don't know if you've heard anything about that at all, the Law of One.
Mm-mm.
So it's this interesting channel.
Is that where if you kill all of your versions of you from other dimensions that you get to have all the power?
No, but I love the concept of that movie. I've heard people say that was a shitty movie, and I'm like, dude, that movie is L just on the concept alone. I'm like, it's kind of similar to that Burt Goldman concept that I threw at you one time that I once used to manifest becoming a cabbie, where like you go into a meditation and you go into another reality and you meet a doppelganger of you who've already succeeded, and then they give you advice sometimes. In my experience, I didn't get advice, but it just set a chain of events into action. Literally within 20 minutes of doing the meditation, they had a lot of synchronicities, and then the next thing you know, what I was trying to manifest happened within a week.
Man, hey, what was that book that you were telling me about just the other day?
Was it Reality Transurfing? Probably.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so I got this 78-day concept one, and some of the concepts are definitely wild. It coincides with a lot of the other stuff we've been reading on, and basically how you control your own reality. But this one takes the approach that it's literally a hologram, like a lot of scientists are saying, and that you're in a dream, and that basically, like, if you treat your life like a lucid dream and wake up in the dream, that you then have more control and power over the dream. It also gets into a lot of great concepts on things called pendulums, which are essentially anything that collects energy or force, but you might see them as like when they think of group think. That's like an example of a pendulum. So there's positive pendulums, like a positive example would be like a mastermind, right? Like the Napoleon Hill would talk about. But negative pendulums being like, I don't know, an example might be the mainstream media or like CNN, more like compartmentalized, but just an ideology and basically, or a company you work at, right? They'd suck out your energy and swing you by the law of hypnotic rhythm into like going against your will towards their will and basically suck up your energy. It's a pretty interesting concept that talks about.
Say that again. I don't think everybody understood that because I didn't really understood it.
Oh, it's pretty complex. It's pretty wild shit, but basically, there's this concept that the author, Vadim Zeland, he's this Russian guy. That's wild because his stuff, a lot of it's like law of attraction, quote unquote, based, but he writes from a really interesting perspective because he came from like in a kind of darkness more to it because he was in Russia during the fall of communism. And so these ideas could have gotten him killed there, but they became really popular in Russia. But basically, what I was talking about with a pendulum, he talks about the concept of a pendulum being like one or more people or things, or even an entity, like say like a government office, right? Could be a pendulum, where essentially the institution itself creates this pool of energy, and it gets to the point where the concept itself absorbs more energy from the people involved and takes away their will, to the point where it doesn't give a shit about who's in it anymore, right? You could see like an example might be like the mainstream media, or even like City Hall. Let's say that's a pendulum, and it is, right? Because at a certain point, the entity itself, through the principles of how it operates, just consumes energy towards its goal, like a corporation, without giving a fuck who's involved, and the concepts that they utilize to do that eventually become this force that don't give a fuck about the singular parts of it, but just about consuming the energy. So you could use a positive ideology on pendulums, or a negative one. Because, right, like an example of a positive pendulum would be like the mastermind concept that Napoleon Hill talks about, where you get a group of minds or people together for one good common cause. And then basically your energy is being used for a mutual benefit of everyone. Where in the negative aspect of a pendulum, they're basically concepts, or you could call them maybe pockets of collective consciousness that are absorbed in like a negative vampiric energy, like an energy vampire, but like, and the concept more of like multiple people or mindsets connected into one collective consciousness that's like sucking out your energy. And it gets to the point where the
all the time, bro. People
right.
try that on me all the time. Fuck, man. When I feel people vampiring on me, man, they it's never just like one person, man. I always feel like a horde. But it doesn't matter, because it's a horde of fucking mortals. They ain't, sorry, church kids. It's a horde of mortals. They ain't touching my energy. But they do that, like these cabals that like they draw strength from each other.
There you go. And see, they eventually, the concept of the pendulum basically talks about is that, okay, even they get to a point where they're like basically unconsciously doing this. Even if they think they're conscious, their ideas aren't their own. So the pendulum would be the bigger entity. It could be an ideology. It could be an institution. A lot of the examples of the institutional problems we have in America would be described under this pendulum concept, essentially. So it teaches you to kind of like, he talks about becoming aware of the pendulums so that you can avoid ones that are sucking negative energy out of you. But he writes it pretty dark. And so a lot of people have taken the misconception that you have to avoid all pendulums. So if you do that, you just stay in your bed all day. But that you could flip it to a positive way, creating your own pendulums that sway. And because a pendulum, right, sways in perpetual motion, right? There's a concept Napoleon Hill talks about that I think there's some crossover with, called the law of hypnotic rhythm. It's essentially the autopilot habits that your subconscious dictates. Like, I don't think about walking to the kitchen, right? I just do it. And that's because that's
the worst part. That's what you don't want to be. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, you don't want to be that, but there's some positive aspects. Like, you don't have to think about small tasks, right? You could just do them. But that could take over in a bigger way. And then the pendulum is the concept of multiple people. So a positive way you could flip a pendulum is like the mastermind concept from Napoleon Hill is one example I've seen of it. But essentially like gaining that same momentum, but towards a positive aim where you're balancing the energy for everyone so that the pendulum is swinging in the correct direction, so that you're not, letting a negative pendulum take up your energy. Because eventually he talks about that these things may or may not be conscious, like the collective of it itself, and that this thing becomes its own entity that essentially just doesn't give a fuck about anyone in the pendulum. It only wants to suck the energy. And I think that's how you can see people get wrapped up in these like groupthink kind of situations. And it's like a wave of energy that sucks them in and builds on itself, you know?
You know, when you talk about the small things, like knowing the direction to the kitchen, or knowing without having to open the silverware drawer where your silverware sits, or being able to walk in the bathroom in the dark and knowing where the light is, that's all good, but that's all also dangerous, right? Because it's such a convenient place to live. it's such a place that keeps you in the passenger seat of your life, right? Like, one of my biggest blessings right now is that literally when I wake up in the morning, I have no freaking clue where I am if I don't open my eyes. Like, am I
Right.
in Hawaii? Am I in Kansas City? Am I in Texas? I don't know. Am I in jail? Like, without opening your eyes, trying to figure out where you are puts you in baby brain, right? Where everything
Right.
is new, where you have to go out and explore and really stretch the limits of your brain versus waking up, getting off the same side of the bed every morning, walking to the same hallway to go to the same bathroom, pulling out the same wiener, flushing the same toilet, using the same soap to wash your hands. You know what I'm saying? That's all. You already started yourself in a dangerous autopilot right there. That's why one of the things I like to do in the morning on this show is walk through the mental exercise of getting out of the passenger seat, walking around the back of the Volkswagen Bug, and climbing in physically to the driver's seat, buckling up, adjusting the seat, adjusting the heat, popping in Hall & Oates' greatest hits, right?
Right.
But you're telling us that we can also do it the other way, and we can turn those beneficial traits onto autopilot.
Right. So we all have habits, right? We're all going to have them. So one of the concepts he talks about, and you're right, like that actually gets into a lot of what the base concepts of transurfing reality is talking about waking up in the dream and realizing you're awake in the dream. Or Bob Proctor would use the concept, he calls it a paradigm shift. But you're going to be in a paradigm. So if you go to extreme to avoid paradigms, you'd be inactive. Let's be real. You're going to be in a sort of a hypnotic rhythm at the times. And that's going to be your daily habits. And it's going to be an indicator to where your subconscious is at. And since that's going to create the majority of your reality, what I liked is in Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, he talks a lot about the law of hypnotic rhythm. And I saw parallels between that and the concept of the pendulum. Well, if you start to reprogram your habits through like auto suggestions, one thing he talks about, where you repetitively suggest phrases, mantras are kind of an example of that. But you can shift that, or just doing something different. Like one concept that's kind of what you were talking about, where you making a conscious effort to get into the driver's seat, or just shift the different things that you're stuck in. Is Bob Proctor talks about he started just writing with his left hand, and he's like 80, and he can't do it very good yet, but he does random shit like that sometimes till they can master it, just to break the paradigm, just to break the rhythm that he's in, just to make sure that he's not getting stuck in too much of the same rhythms, But there are a lot of positive rhythms. Like if you set a hypnotic rhythm or a pendulum for yourself on a singular level, where say, you're waking up and you're working out, or adding meditations that, or just whatever. I'm just using some examples of positive habits, right? You could use that same concept. And then on the broader concept, like a mastermind group where you're coming together for one common cause that's a righteous cause, where the energy is being used is going to equally benefit everybody. That would be a way that I'm seeing parallels in the other stuff I'm reading and these concepts I'm learning in reality transurfing, where it's like you could take the pendulum and create a positive one. In fact, almost everything that's in a group consciousness is like a pendulum, and there's bigger and smaller ones from the way I can see it. So it gives you a way to consciously be aware of, okay, if you're getting sucked into, let's say mainstream media, for lack of a better, there's all kinds of examples of this, but that's like one example where you're watching that every day and you're getting sucked into what they're telling you, right? To pull away from ones like that and look at, hey, well, how do I feel? Is this vampiring my energy? Is this shifting my energy somewhere I don't want to be? And am I consciously interacting with this in a way that's beneficial energy wise, like mutually? Or, you could shift it to the positive aspect where you, with intent, create groups of people where you're creating pendulums that will, shift things in a positive direction consciously that you want, where it's balancing the energy of everyone involved. Because the big thing he warns about with pendulums is that they essentially become exactly what we would think of like a corporation, where it's like the entity becomes so soul sucking or energy sucking that's the whole concept of it, that it no longer cares anymore. You could see a good example would be like a giant corporation that like goes after profit, which is just energy. Let's be real. Money is just energy, currency, current, right? and it goes at it at all costs with nothing else, and eventually it doesn't care about anyone involved in the pendulum. So actually, a big corporation is kind of a perfect example of a negative pendulum. You know what I mean?
A couple things that I want, man. I wish I had a pen handy so I could make sure I don't mess these up. One, the first is the need to be sustainable for something like that once it becomes self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
But then second is the disguise of a panhandler when you realize that money is currency, but the it's currency that only has an artificial emperor wears no clothes kind of value, right? It's
Right.
literally just numbers moving around ledgers, unless you're poor enough to actually have to touch the dirty stuff, right? Like
Right.
peasants, right? But so like a corporation or something like that, it becomes an entity, and that's when they talk about like an industrial complex, right?
Right.
Like it becomes almost self-aware and has a need to sustain itself, right? So then it begins
Right.
actions to help it grow almost as a living entity into itself, right? Like an example would be like the military industrial complex, the prison
Right.
industrial complex, the homeless industrial complex, whatever. Like, do you think really that a prison guard wants to see no crime? Do you really think a cancer doctor
Exactly.
at his deepest levels wants to be out of a job?
On,
Do you really think that a homeless services worker really wants to be on unemployment because they cured homelessness? No, they're part of these industrial energetic cycles, or like
right.
complexes that just grow upon themselves at all costs.
Exactly, at all costs. Is basically they're just consuming energy. And that's what he talks about in this concepts. Now, granted, I haven't even gotten into the depth of it because the original book, I'm reading a condensed version that's a 78-day program where I go into a concept, and I've listened to some other videos on his concepts, but the original reality transurfing book's very thick. Then he has this other one called Princess Tufti, where it's like an Egyptian person being channeled. I've gotten a little bit into that, but it's a lot of these same concepts of like, it's a pretty interesting concept. I'm going to start trying to practice lucid dreaming because I have a difficulty remembering my dreams. Because a lot of the concepts are like, well, what if your waking life is a dream? Like a lot of quantum physics are talking about. What if it's a simulation? And it talks about that you gain a lot of power just by recognizing these aspects of the dream and then consciously coming awake within the dream. So if you learn to lucid dream in your sleep, then you could learn to lucid dream when you're awake, right? So that's one of the next things I'm trying to approach to build as a skill set, you know?
So in Hawaii, I could pull out of my dream and then just exist in this little room, which is in my head. And so long as I did not open my eyes and commit to a reality, right? Mm-hmm. Now, on the other side of my eyelids is infinite realities. I could wake up and be 46-year-old Jessie Sponberg in 2020, or I could wake up and be 4-year-old Jessie Sponberg getting ready for my birthday in 1977 because that's my favorite day ever, and I want to keep reliving it, right? When I am inside that headspace, I have infinity. Now, it's only when I decide to use this character, right? This. But I got save points all over the universe, right? I don't even think I have to be Jessie Sponberg every time. I don't even have to play this game. But the fact is that my Nintendo, my deck is still in my head, right? My projector. Right. So in Hawaii, I could literally pull out of a dream and then stand like in this hallway. And so long as I didn't commit to a set of eyeballs, it was infinite inside there. But it was raucousy, like I wasn't alone, right?
Right.
Like I like that space I was cohabitating was almost like the arcade, because there was other people there, and they were grunting, and they were grumbling, and they were laughing, and they were frolicking, and they were just aggressive, right? But that's also the sound of a carnival, the sound of a the sound of a nickel arcade, the sound of a birthday party, right? But a drunken one. But it's there. It's like the platform, and then we plug in wherever we want. And then on these other levels, there's all these factors going on. But the point I really want to come back to, so that we don't lose it, is when you realize that money is valueless currency. right? Money, legal cash tender at one time backed by a promissory note for gold, right? Once you realize that that has no real value, right? You could give somebody a hand job in a car for $5, right? You can get money easy. You could sell drugs. You could steal money. You could traffic in exotic animals. I mean, you could do a lot of terrible things to get money, right? So that should let you know right there that money doesn't have the intrinsic value that people would like to instill upon it, right? But what is the real currency is good energy, man. That good juju, right? Because look, I might not have money, but I eat, I smoke, I live.
Right.
I mean, I do have money, but I'm saying I don't need money, right? Money isn't the link between my needs being met, right? Like they say in the Bible, this is one of my favorite ones out of the Bible. Does the bird wander around storing seeds for the winter? Does the bird fret on how he's going to eat next week? Man, the bird just kicks it. You don't think the universe values you more than a bird? You don't think that you're more special? You don't think that this whole entire reality is created just for you, Diction? You don't need money, right? So then when you realize that good energy is the currency, money is the illusion, a panhandler starts looking a lot nicer, right? You realize that some of the biggest panhandlers in the world are driving Maseratis and are wearing suits, right? Because I mean, shit, if that's what gets you through this day, but I don't live for this day. I live for eternity, right?
Right.
Like, man, check this out. I'm gonna stop what we're doing just for a second. My man BJ, he's my homeboy. So I'm gonna put him on blast right now because I'm still really salty. And I actually I actually yelled at him in his own house. So I say to him, what are you working towards, right? You gotta throw a goal into the future to be your grappling hook so that you can go to the future that you want, right?
Right.
And he goes, I said, you're gonna have your soul will be weighed against a feather. You know what he said to me?
What's that?
I think I could explain most of it. I was like, bro, that's you're supposed to be so dope and so dominant and have created so much and contributed so much and lived really a legendary life, right? That other people will want to play next time around. Like next time I got a quarter, I'm playing Diction. Boom, I'm gonna go through Diction's life. I'm gonna make a little bit different decisions, a little bit things, right? But I'm still gonna kick with Sponberg. But so BJ says to me, he says, well, you think you're super fresh in this cycle, but to make up for that, you have to have been weak at other times. I was like, bro, get the hell out my face with that bullshit. If you think I've ever reincarnated as a weakling, man, get out my face. I can't even have this disempowering conversation with you if you think that there's ever a cycle of your reincarnation where a score's not kept. And look, if you play Blanca and you fall for Ryu's toe tap every time and you suck at Street Fighter because you don't know how to defend that, that's your cross to bear, bro. That's your scarlet letter on your shirt, right? You suck at Street Fighter. Well, some people fucking suck at human. Sorry, church kids. Some people suck at being human. You feel me?
I feel you. Honestly, I kind of look at that, what you're talking about, the weighing the heart against the feather, which I always found very interesting, a little differently. Essentially, I look at it like this, but I guess it would be the same concept. It might be more of a matter of semantics, depending on how you look at it. But essentially, it's this.
Are you arguing with the crocodile goddess?
No, not at all. I think it's great, but I just kind of see it in a different perspective. I don't. It makes a lot of sense to me. But okay, when you look at like communications with other beings from higher quote unquote levels of consciousness, I look at the weight of the feather that your heart's being judged against as this. You'll have to come back if you don't reach a higher level of consciousness, because every higher level of consciousness out of here is less dense, right? Because we're in a third dimension density. It's a different layer of consciousness that's more dense and heavier, right? So I would think that any negative energy you're holding on yourself, right? That's what the metaphor is for. That like if you don't raise your consciousness to a certain vibration, you can't exist up here, because if my radio signal is set to attract to, 97.1, whatever, right? But
Kissing
let's call
FM.
it heaven or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm
Kissing
just throwing
FM.
out numbers. I don't listen
Bro,
to the
you just
radio.
got the Kissing FM reference. I wish I had an assistant to pull that up. I'd be like,
Oh,
Kevin,
word.
Kevin
Okay,
Smith.
yeah. So like, but let's say quote unquote heaven, or where the judgment would be going is like it's at I don't care, just pick a number like 1180 or something, right? Well, if I don't tune my frequency to that, I can't exist in that plane simply in the same way that they talk about a lot in the law of attraction. This is how I see it. Like, or Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot, right? Like a lot of times it's like everything that we're trying to attract already exists, but we're not tuned to the frequency. Well, I think that intensifies more when you die, right? Because the spirit has far less density to it energetically. And what it's saying is, if you have a really low vibrational energy, which if you do a bunch of shit you're guilty for and you don't make up for it, you're going to be at a very low vibrational energy of guilt and stuff. You'll end up being a ghost or something like that, and then having to come back because you're too heavy of an energy to go up there. So rather than looking at it as like God's going to decide if I go to heaven or hell, it's more going to be like my vibe, the way I might look at it or put it, but who knows if I'm right. I'm just
I was
kind of
gonna
my
say,
take on it.
Hold on,
Is
we got how many pyramids
yeah.
have you built?
Right? I think that it's the same thing though. I just think that that's what the crocodile goddess is saying by that. I think they talked a lot in symbology and metaphors, is that it's basically saying, hey, if you don't tune your frequency high enough to go to this, level of higher consciousness in a different dimension that we might refer to as a heaven or something, right? Then you're not going to be able to go there. And that's what it's saying. If your heart's not light as a feather, like if you're not able to, tune your frequency that high. And if you did a bunch of crazy bullshit and then you didn't do anything, you're going to feel guilt in yourself naturally. And that's going to lower your vibration. And then you're not going to have a high enough vibration to go to that place, because you can't exist on that plane if you can't tune to that frequency and sustain it, right? So that's the way I would kind of look at that.
Yeah,
Same
right.
thing,
Like,
honestly, just maybe a different take on it. I don't
know. From what you're saying, so like a ghost would just be too light to manifest at this vibration, but too heavy to go anywhere else. So they're stuck in a limbo.
Right. Not too light, though. They're even lower than this. They're heavier than even us. They're so heavy that they fall out of this vibration and not light enough to go to the one above the third dimension density. Yeah.
So they drop below us where we are right now?
At least from what I understand from the ghosts that we've talked to, they always seem like they don't even know that they're dead, which is another crazy thing when you think about, are we really dreaming or whatever? Or like a lot of times, I've had like maybe 4 or 5 different times where we've legit talked to ghosts through friends of mine who are mediums or different things. And there are people I knew when they were alive most of the time. So like this is things where they'd never met the person and they're using vernacular and certain things that there's no way this other person could know. And most of the people I know who passed it actually crossed on to a different higher plane of consciousness. And it wasn't bad people either. But I've had interactions with people I knew in my life where they were stuck with some heavy stuff weighing on their heart and they died. Now they're at this heavier energy and it's basically everything's slower there. So I think it's denser rather than lighter than us. It's slower. They tend to move in slow motion and they tend to, through the communications we had, seem to not always realize they're dead. And that's one of their problems, because that makes it hard for them to focus on what they need to do to tune up their frequency. One of these spirits, of somebody, I'll just leave out who it is, but somebody we knew that had passed, years later came back, although time's not the same, and they had all these angel beings around them. And it was my friend who does cards and is like a really kind of psychic person, and communicated that they had moved on and had this one last piece of thing to say to me and somebody else before they could really transcend to a higher level of consciousness. So I don't think you get stuck there forever either. I think that what I'm saying is not any different than what you're saying about the judgment in the heart. I just would look at it from a different perspective, that like ultimately, like no matter who you are, even if you're the ultimate sociopath, like there's an energetic imbalance from doing shit that's in a lower vibrational frequency. And that if you come to the end of your life in a lower vibrational frequency and can't sustain a higher one, then yes, and especially through guilt and other things that are going to do that, your heart would be too heavy, right, to weigh up against the feather. You have to be, at a high enough frequency to be so light, so to speak, as a feather to even be able to exist on a higher plane, right? Because if you're not at that frequency, man, you just, you can't, it's like Esther Hicks would be saying, like, you can't turn your radio to like, 97.1 or whatever when you're trying to listen to 101 FM, because that's not the station that's on. You ain't gonna hear that. You have to be able to tune it to the right frequency, right?
I got blessed the other day, and I did some DMT, and I did too much of it.
Whoa, okay.
And I did too much of it, and
Did you run into Joe Rogan in there?
right. But so what happened was I ended up in this place where like my soul wasn't being judged, but it like could have been at any minute, and I was making demands of the universe, and I was in a predicament, right?
Right.
Like I didn't go and visit any deities. I didn't see any DNA strands. I didn't see no binary codes or whatever, right? I literally just went to the recycling bin, and they were going to eat my soul. And I watched all these other souls go through the cycle, right? And it was so beautiful. Every individual soul was like a can of soda or like a bag of chips. They all had their own logo and their own color schemes. And one dude, I looked at one dude's and it was green and orange. I was like, damn, you went with the Miami Hurricanes, huh? Okay.
All right, good man.
A lot of them look like variations of Pepsi cans, right? And they were so beautiful and glossy, and they had colors I'd never seen before, these electric purples and these electric oranges and these greens that were just breathing. Anyways, they were alive. But when I was confronted with that kind of reality, bro, my heart was solid. Like, I wasn't like, oh, let me go back and I'll fix this, or I'm sorry about this one shit I did, or I really regret this. Bro, I was square. I was like, boom, you can't touch me. I'm pure light. I still got a show to do tomorrow. I still got goals. I got to get back out of here. But I'm in a spot where I can make demands like that, right? Because I'm as powerful as anything else in the universe.
The law of free will, man.
Anything else in the universe, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't feel any kind of resignation or any kind of like sadness or nothing. I was just like, bleh. And for every molecule they take off the bottom of my foot, I would add 2 to my head. Like, dude, I could just do this all day, bro. You know what I'm saying? They're taking the first inch off the measuring stick. I'm adding the 13th inch. They took the second. I'm adding the 14th inch, and I'm just yelling, "Bosh, Bosh, get me out of here!" But I'm crying like a baby. I'm like, "Bosh, they're trying to steal my soul, Bosh," and I'm really crying like a baby. G, I'm damn near sucking my thumb and pooping my pants, right? And then Bosh goes, "Josie." And I was like, "Bosh, where are you, Bosh? Get me out of here. There's soul stealers, Bosh." And all of a sudden, Bosh goes, "Hold on." And I see through the clouds this gigantic arm reach down to me, like right down from the heavens, like the hand of God. And I hear Jessie. And I was like, "Bosh, is that you, Bosh? You got to get me out of here, Bosh." And I'm seriously, bro, snot. I'm crying, terrified. But at the same time, I was only terrified because of how inconvenient it was to my schedule. Right?
That's beautiful.
But remember, I didn't remember that I took the DMT, right? So I'm literally in a surprise fight for my eternal soul, right? So Bosh reaches down, "Jessie," and this arm comes down to me, and I grab it, and I hold on to it so tight because my whole soul is right there, and I'm dying, bro, I'm dying, right? And I'm holding on to this arm, and I hear the voice of God. The voice of God says, "Jessie, let go of my arm a little bit. You're squeezing really hard." Get me out of here, Bosh. And then, so Bosh was like, "Bro, you need to start breathing." And I was like, "That's a good idea." So as I started breathing, my surroundings started coming into view. But it started out looking like Leonardo da Vinci's sketchbook.
Oh shit! Okay, that's kind of dope. I would love to see that. Actually,
it was just the most roughest, hard, just the most basic, bare sketches of the room that I was in. And then every time I took a breath, it was like he colored me in a little more. And I take a breath and I get more detail. And then I breathe, and this reality would come back. And then I was like, "Okay, Bosh, I think I'm back, but I still can't see the floor. So I'm going to stay on your couch for a little while. Is that okay? Oh my gosh. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us this morning, Ashley. It was fun. Come back Monday. We'll be back Monday with some big surprises. I can't even tell you guys all the surprises that we're gonna have Monday.
Have a beautiful day as well, Ashley. One love.
Man, I'm trying to get Angela. Angela Foster's a super busy person, but she has ties to Warm Springs.
Right.
And they're having a severe water shortage. And I haven't.
Oh, man.
All you gotta tell me is there's a water shortage, right? You don't have to tell me exactly why yet, and then I'll just start working on it.
What can we do?
I'm sorry, what?
What can we do? Well, how can we help?
Water, we gotta get them money. We gotta get them wet money. But Angela's gonna join us hopefully soon with who, what, when, where, and why.
Oh, that's great, man. I'll definitely want to reach out and try and help as much as I can. That's a great cause.
Right now, where?
It's terrible to hear they're going through that.
Yeah, hey, we answered four of the
Sure, no problem. I'll be your bestie.
Oh man. Okay, so man, Angela's gonna join us real soon, I think, and she's gonna explain.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love Angela. She's such a great person.
Right? Yes, see,
they have a GoFundMe. That's what's up.
Hey, yeah, if somebody would put the GoFundMe up, I could share it on the page so people could see it.
I'm wondering if if it would help at all. Like, well, I guess it's kind of out of the way to the vortex, but maybe we take the long route on our vortex trip to the vortex to get in the vortex while we in the vortex and just load up the minivan with like gang of water or something.
I'm with that. Did we have a date on that trip?
Yeah. If you wanted to do it on a Monday, and I'm gonna be on another trip at the Mackenzie River, the not this weekend, but the next weekend. So the one after that, which was the 27th or 28th, I think the 27th would be Sunday. So if we leave then, yeah, definitely, Aaron. I'll be your bestie.
Yeah, people love it when you come on, Diction. So we need to get you on the show.
Well, thank you, people. I love y'all for loving me.
Hey, Angela, Diction wants to know this, man. What about when you talk to people who have passed here in this life in your dreams all the time?
Oh, what do you do when you talk when you passed here in this life in your dreams consistently? It's a way they can communicate with you from my experiences and people I've dealt with and different supernatural experiences that I've had in different things. And people I know who are more adept at traveling the astral plane. That's something I need to get more into. Frankly, that's not my, I definitely have some natural spiritual gifts, but the dream world is something I have to work on. I blocked my dreams out a long time ago when I was younger. And because I used to have night terrors and stuff, so I haven't gone to the astral plane near as much, but I believe that that's them actually communicating with you. Or you could look at it like just from another aspect. Maybe it's an aspect of your subconscious trying to tell you something about the feelings you have with that person. I would try and take whatever message you can, interpret it. Edgar Cayce is the illest dude about dreams, period. So I know you already know. So usually if I had a dream, I remembered I wanted to figure it out. I'd try to see what Edgar Cayce would do to figure it out. Not because he's alive or would be able to tell you what's going on, but the processes of understanding how you could find out on your own and analyze your own stuff is really great. Angela!
You're still muted, Ange. I just thought I'd bring you up. Hey, look, we look like stairs. Do. Just goes down.
We do. That's hilarious.
I would in second place.
That's like Mario Kart and shit at the end.
So I've only dreamt two times where I got visited by a dead person, right? And it was my grandma both times.
Yo.
And the problem was she came and talked to me, but we were in environments where everybody else was so effing loud that I couldn't hear what she was saying, and I spent the whole time going, "Will you guys shut up? This lady's dead. Hello, you guys have dead people. I have a dead person right here. I'm trying to talk to her. You guys want to shut up?" And they don't shut up. They don't shut up, and I just spend the whole night upset about look, Diction, do you still want to be her friend now? They weren't night terrors. They were warnings you ignored and blocked out.
Actually, that could be possibly true because then I had memories later on from like an age I shouldn't remember, and I remember there was these dark beings that used to kick it around my crib, and that's why I would trip out or whatever. And later on, I'm pretty sure I removed them because they were attached in energy like vampires. I'm an empath, and I'm pretty sure they attached me. That's a whole other conversation.
Yo, G, it might not be your dreams. It might be those raucous people I was telling you about that are in that middle ground between the dream you choose to go play in and the reality.
Oh, yeah. I've been in those hallways only one time, and that's when I went to talk to my doppelganger doing that meditation. And I didn't hear anybody when I was in the hallways at that point in period of time. But there's definitely, you know, parasitic entities and whatever you want to call them, negative vibrating entities I've had experiences with for sure.
I actually read something that was funny to ask that question about the dreams, and because I've seen people that have passed away in my dreams, and so it's kind of weird because when I see them, it's like they never passed away. It's kind of like, oh hey, it's been forever. It's great to see you, and it's been multiple times in my dream, and so it's almost like picked up from where it left off. Which is actually what happens in my dream a lot. So my dreams have evolved from the beginning of my life to the end of my life. So it's really weird. Wow. My dreams are weird to me. Yeah.
Honestly, that's, if you think about it, okay, someone might put on another concept that's less supernatural or whatever, right? That's just an aspect of your subconscious trying to communicate something to you. But I might argue, the more I'm learning, who's to say this isn't technically a dream? And is that world any more real than this? Or less fake, or maybe it's realer than here. You know what I mean? So you probably are actually talking with them. You could communicate there easier than you could here because the frequencies would be, you know, something that's more compatible, right? Because you're going into the other realm.
It's got to be exactly of equal value, dude. It's got to be exactly of equal value. Because check this out, man. If you sleep 8 hours a day, there's a 33% chance that anything you're experiencing is a dream. That's bro.
I actually have this app right now, and it's kind of a trip because it's to learn lucid dreaming, and I hadn't filled it out yet, but it has a totem. And so I didn't realize it sets these little notifications. It's like, hey, are you dreaming? Click me to see if you're dreaming. And I always laugh because I'm technically awake. And then I've been reading that stuff about like when you're awake, you're in a dream anyway. So take control of the dream, right? And I'm like, I hit it like, okay, maybe I'm dreaming. It kind of reminds me like, it's like a reminder me like, I'm probably still dreaming, even though I am technically awake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do you have that?
Oh, I downloaded, I don't know, I was downloading a bunch of apps. I forget what it's called. Where is it?
Hold on. That might be one of the dopest tools ever. If you could set, bro,
it's called Awoken.
An app
called Awoken.
So every 15, 20, half an hour, whatever cycle fits your brain, right? Wherever you take in the information most willingly. Look, just make it so that you get so used to an app going off to ask you if you're dreaming that it just becomes part of your reality. And then you'll just do it subconsciously.
That's a good point. You can set a totem sound and all this stuff. It's a tool that's supposed to help you learn how to lucid dream. It's called Awoken. And I've just barely been messing around with it, but I just thought it was funny because I start reading these concepts about, you know, that we're in a waking dream and that sort of a thing with Vadim Zeland, and then that'll pop up like, are you dreaming? And I'm like, yes. I'll like click the yes, like even though like technically I'm awake, I'm at work, I'm talking to some fool mad about their cable bill or whatever, but I'm like, you know.
I actually, with your night terrors, I just read something recently too.
Yeah.
That, a lot of people that get the sleep paralysis and night terrors actually see the same figure.
Oh shit! I used to have sleep paralysis too. I haven't had it in years, but I used to get really crazy sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Well, there's theories behind that as well, like that he's someone from the future, or that he is basically like death coming to visit, and that there's death near. There's definitely different theories on who he is, but basically people see him in a sleep paralysis state. They see this figure, and he has like a hat that it's like an old hat. It's like a top hat, but it has a bill. I don't know. But
well, if he's listening, if he shows up again, I'm gonna whoop his ass.
I've seen the sleep paralysis dude 2 times before.
I would never see him when I had sleep paralysis. I would just see everything, and I couldn't move or breathe really or do anything. I did write a really dope rhyme once from that, which was crazy. Like it flew out of me, like almost a channel. Like I came out of a sleep paralysis, and I don't even remember what I wrote down or wasn't even thinking about it. I woke up the next day, and I was like, oh shit, this makes hella sense, and it's kind of about quantum physics and some shit like that. I put it on a song on me and Sarge's second album, I think.
What? Bust it right now.
I don't know it. It's from like 2006, bro. I haven't spit that rhyme in over 14 years, bro.
I'm gonna have to switch this. I'm gonna have to switch just this angle just because I want to do this.
Right? Oh, my bad. I didn't memorize every rhyme I wrote in the last 21 years.
I really like this angle better because I throw up my hands a lot. Like when you said Edgar Casey, I was in the narrow shot, so I had to do this. I had to be like, yeah.
Edgar Casey is dope, though.
But I believe in equal time here. But you know what's funny is Angela has the magic blood, and Diction and I have to figure this shit out, right? We're just descended from the Druids, but but Angela had this is Angela's life, right? This is the stories you were told when you were a baby, and me and Diction are hogging up everything. So here's the one thing, because I want to hear more of your story about sleep paralysis, and then I want us to talk about Warm Springs because that's really important. What I want to say about sleep paralysis is whenever somebody describes that they had sleep paralysis, the first thing somebody else does is just go, oh, that's just sleep paralysis. As if that's to dismiss from the reality that your conscious can exist without your body, right? That's what's happening. They're like, oh, well, your mind is awake without your body. Like, hold on. That means, Diction, you know how bad smoking is for you? Do you know this show? Oh, bro. Okay. But they're not like there's nothing to deny. Even the people that try to act like it's not a metaphysical phenomenon, even if it's strictly just a physical and psychological phenomenon, what it does indicate though is that our brain, our consciousness, and our body are separate, right? So what does that mean for people in comas? What does that mean for people that are disabled, right? Yeah. I mean, like a good example is Anthony Sanchez, our dear friend Anthony right now. Yeah. Like his brain works, but he ain't talking. Like,
yeah,
he's totally just a brain living inside a broken body that can no longer serve him. Yo, don't ever let me get that way, yo. Cash me out. Anyways.
Yeah.
Tell us about that guy, Angela. He wears a hat. How the fuck do you know that?
That's trippy.
I read about it because my daughter has sleep paralysis. I've never experienced it, luckily, because I think it would be super scary and that would be hard. But my daughter has it regularly. And so we actually had to get her on medication, a blood pressure medication, so that she was able to sleep because she would not sleep because it was scary for her, understandably, And so I asked her and she said she had seen it, but I was honestly just reading about it from other people. And it was a post on Facebook and there was like hundreds, maybe thousands of people that were commenting on this post about how they had seen this person. And yeah, it was really interesting. So it made me want to read more about it.
That's wild. I'll have to check that out because my girl has sleep paralysis sometimes and she sees these dark figure over the years that will show up. But I don't know that she's described the hat. I'll have to ask her about the hat. We haven't talked about that in a while, but she's had that experience. When I had it, I never saw a being in it or anything, but I felt the presence of something. But I tend to feel things more than I see them.
Yeah, and my mom has also said she's had like out of body experiences, like with that, you know, where she basically is floating over her body and looking at
That's
herself.
exactly what happens with my girl, where she'll accidentally astral project and stuff like that. And she's been doing that since she was a kid, like without trying, like it just happens or whatever. But she's mentioned that dark being a bunch of times. So that's interesting. I'm going to have to ask her if he was wearing a hat and all that.
Yeah. Are you talking, Jessie?
Jesse's muted himself. He's talking.
So. We can't hear you.
Oh, man.
There he is.
There we go.
Check this out. In 1995, I rented a motel room across the street from Madison High School. And because I really needed to sleep, and so I just grabbed the quickest, cheapest motel I could get, right? So I check into this sleazy motel, and Jesse's mom, who is pregnant with Jessie at the time, comes and she stays with me. We fall asleep early watching TV, and suddenly I can't move. Right? I got sleep paralysis, and I'd never experienced it before. But it wasn't just sleep paralysis; it was accompanied by 5 entities, and the 5 entities sat on my chest. Right, I'm laying on my back, and they sat on my chest, and they were pushing down on my soul, and it literally felt like an elephant, right? And so I was flailing my arms, but they were my spirit arms and my spirit legs, right? So it felt like there was like a little bit of fishing line, so that I had to move my spirit arm like 2 feet to make my physical arm move at all, right? So while on the astral realm, I was flailing. In this realm, I think I was just twitching, right? So anyways, there was 5 distinct individual characters, and one of them was the dude that everybody talks about. And then the other one was a lesser male character, and then there was 3 female characters, and they were all laughing in the most insane, just demonic laughter. But it was all distinct laughter, right? It was, and then the other one was like, ha, ha, ha. And then the 3 girl ones were like cackling. They're like, ha, 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 right? And they were all swirling around in my brain. And it was super terrifying, right? And I was just freaking out. And then I remembered when Geraldo Rivera had a special about exorcisms and possessions. And Geraldo Rivera taught me, I was like 11 years old, and Geraldo said, if you are in the middle of a possession, say this exact sentence. In the name of Jesus and all that is holy, I rebuke you back to thy unholy abode. Right? And so I said that, and I just evoked the name of Jesus, and it totally went away. It just subsided, and I woke up Jesse's mom, and I was like, oh my God, did you see all that? And she was like, wow, you were barely moving. I think what would have happened, because at that time in my life, I had a lot of heavy shit, I think they would have pressured me into a murder-suicide inside that motel, right? At that time in my life, I carried multiple guns on me. I was about to have a baby that I didn't want with a woman that I couldn't stand. Right?
Whoa.
And I think they found me at this real weak moment, right? But then check this out. So I thought the whole time in my life, I was like, okay, well, I evoked the name of Jesus. Did Jesus save me? Or was it just that I flexed on him? So I never knew. For years, I would just sit and daydream about that question. And so what I did was one day I used to have this habit of buying nitrous balloons out of a crack, not a crack house, a crack apartment.
Yeah.
It was an apartment where they sold crack. But also, dude, every apartment in this complex, it's above the Speakeasy on like 12th and Taylor. In the old days, that used to be like New Jack City, yo. So every apartment either sold guns or sold cocaine or sold weed or had prostitution, or this one guy sold crack and nitrous, right? He diversified his portfolio a little bit so he with the ebb and flow of the market. But I was his best customer, not for the crack, for the nitrous. So I would go, and these giant balloons, the punching bag balloons, would cost $5 each. So I would buy them and I would fill my Bronco 2 up with them and I would go party. But sometimes I would do some in his crack apartment. And one time I did a really big one in his crack apartment and it made me fall over. I was already sitting down, but I fell over. And first of all, this dude had the grossest carpet with the most pubes on it I've ever freaking seen in my life, right? And there's just like 3D pubes. I can just see through eternity. I can see every little piece of lint, every cigarette butt, every just a string, whatever, right? Piece of cat litter. Oh, I remember it all. Okay, so, but then this tunnel opened up. My third eye opened up into a tunnel, and it went. I mean, it was so dark and so long. And at the end of that tunnel was that dude. And I was like, oh shit, it's that dude. And then I was like, yo, here's my chance. Don't say Jesus. Don't say Jesus unless you get really scared. Don't say Jesus. And I could see the dude. And he turned and looked at me. And I guess he did kind of look like the Jeepers Creepers guy. Now that I'm thinking about it, he did kind of look like the Jeepers Creepers guy, but I could just see his silhouette. And the light at the end of the tunnel was shining behind him. And he turned and he looked at me and I looked at him and I was like, don't say Jesus. Don't say Jesus unless you get real scared. And I just went, I am a being of light. I am good. Oh, right. And then the little tunnel disappeared. And wow. I was like, shit, Jesus, I don't need you. The hell I got you following me around for? So, anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And you guys know I never, ever lie. Unless I'm just trying to spare somebody's feelings and tell them I like their haircut. But about important shit, I never lie. And everything I ever say is proven because I keep receipts. Okay. So anyway.
Reminds me of my Cutla when she passed away. When I was in 4th grade, and she is actually the reason that my tribe has its culture. She started the Sunday service with the youth in my tribe. And so when she passed away, she was living in our house with my mom. And my mom has often said that when she's singing with people who have passed away or about to pass away, they do like they kind of sing prayer songs. And so she said, lots of people in the room when it was only just a few of them when she was singing these prayer songs and had closed her eyes. She said she felt that with my Cutla when she was about to pass away. And my Cutla actually, right before she passed, she raised her arms and she was fighting some kind of imaginary spirit. But she was physically doing it. My mom could see it. And so my mom, that's how she viewed it. She thought that she was fighting basically to get to the other side. And that's what happened when she passed. And so that's kind of how my mom has always viewed it. Was that
what's that word? What's that word you just used a couple times? Hefla?
Kufla means grandmother in Sahaptin, which is
I figured what it meant just based on the context. But
yeah.
Say it again.
Kutla.
Kutla?
Kuthla.
You guys are gonna have to change that to make it easier for me.
Kutla. Like Kuthla. Like cut, like if you said cut and then
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. In what language?
Sahaptin.
Okay, so and
dialects of Sahaptin too, actually. But the language is like a northwestern native language.
Okay, so you got a little bit of time to tell us what's going on in Warm Springs?
Yeah, so I just actually found out about it not that long ago. I did know that they've been kind of going through this for a while because I have family out there. A lot of family live out there. There's different parts of the reservation, and Anna posted the GoFundMe. And there's lots of different places on the reservation. So like Simnasho is one area, and then Warm Springs is another area. There's one other area, I can't remember the name of it. But all my family live in all those different areas, actually. And so the first that was hit by it that didn't have any water at all was Simnasho. And that's where a lot of my family lives. And it seems that they fixed that problem a little bit, but all of Warm Springs is under a boil water order. So that's obviously, you know, that's been happening for a long time. And that's obviously
why do they have to boil it?
I think because something contaminated their water system. And
that's where I was going with
there's
that.
a natural spring there in Warm Springs by Canita, and that was also contaminated. It was, I think, like a rat got into that as well. And so, so it costs money to fix all this stuff. So the GoFundMe was at $100,000 is what they were wanting. That's not even anywhere near what they need. It turns out they need about $200 million to fix the water system.
What?
Yeah, and
but that's nothing. Dude, you know what? That's nothing. You know, I'm kind of a water nerd. So I see the price tags on these municipal projects that they do here in Portland. You know what I'm saying? 50 million, 100 million for the new reservoirs that they put up on Powell Butte and Kelly Butte.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 million is nothing.
200 million.
Oh, 200. Why did I think you just said 4 million?
I don't know.
Okay, somebody rewind that whole last minute where I look really dumb. Hey, but it makes sense. I knew. I was like, wait a minute, because I called it though. Like I was like, wait a minute, that don't sound right.
Yeah.
So it's true. I didn't hear it correctly, but it didn't sound right. So
yeah,
I was right.
Yeah. So 200 million to basically fix the time. I don't know if you've seen the pictures. But
no.
There's pictures of the water. If you just Google it, you can see the pictures of the water treatment plant in Warm Springs, and it is tiny. It is like nothing, and it's old, so it definitely needs to be fixed.
So this fund right here is just really just to keep them drinking.
Yeah.
It's not a long-term solution. It's literally a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Yeah, but it's still helpful. I know there's people that are gathering water, like just gathering gallons and gallons of water and taking them out to Warm Springs, you know, weekly. I plan on starting to do that as well. My mom's out there pretty often. She was literally just out there last week. So I think just
I think just as I bet I can talk Jay here at Flight Lounge into being a drop-off spot for some water for some people. You know, drop them off on the porch. Maybe we can make a run to Warm Springs, no problem. But that's, you know, I laughed when I said Band-Aid on a bullet hole, and I didn't laugh because it wasn't serious. I laughed because I only use that phrase in Portland, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I used that phrase, and I thought to myself, I haven't said Band-Aid on a bullet hole in a long time. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm in Portland.
So I posted a story also the other day. You probably saw it about my my history, my family's history. So thank you for posting that. It's always good to see that number. Thank you for posting that, Marty. But I posted a story, and basically the Warm Springs, the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs were basically, the land was stolen from us all the way. It used to be, so I don't remember the borders because it's always super hard to remember, but it used to be all the way to the Columbia River Gorge. We had all that land. We had, it went far, and I can post a map or a picture showing you guys what land was ours before. My mom has been passed down a dress that was given to us because all of that our tribe received was beads and thimbles for that land. It was essentially stolen from our people. We would have better water had it been not stolen from our people. So the government basically appointed their own leader to our tribe because he could speak English and because he wanted to take the money for the land. And so because they did that, he took the money, he ran to Fort Hall, Idaho, and he squandered the money away. So that's why our tribe only received these beads and thimbles. And my mom was given that dress, passed down that dress, under the understanding that she would never sell it. The dress that they made out of that beads and thimbles. Those beads and thimbles, sorry, I jumped around. But those beads and thimbles were made into a dress so that they could remember what happened to them and never let it happen to them again. And that's how the story has been passed down throughout the generations. And so that's how we basically lost the good land that we had. And we were herded like cattle after that to Canada. And there's other stories actually involved with that, where the tribes, the Confederated tribes, we used to be enemies, some of us. And when that happened, we basically became one. And so I definitely think the federal government should pay for some of that, because that land was stolen from us, and we have that dress. It's been appraised about 20 years ago. It was appraised at $10,000, and that's nothing.
It's priceless.
20 years ago, someone wanted to buy
priceless.
And now, well, yes, it's always been priceless. And now it would be considered worth way more, I would think. It's a piece of history, but still, it's never going to be sold, because it's a piece of our history, and it's always going to be passed down between our generations, or down the generations, so that we always remember what happened. But I think the tribe is definitely owed something to the federal government, reparations. What happened.
Included in those treaties were specific provisions regarding water. And I know this because when I discovered it in the white man's way, like other people already been there, but when I discovered the White River and White River Falls, there's a copy of the treaty there, and it speaks to the rights of the tribe to their original and normal. What they use a particular phrase, familiar fishing holes. I can't remember exactly how they phrase it, but there's actual language in there specifically dealing with water rights. So I would think that there would be an onus on the government. They could just do that so quick. They could just do that so quick. They spend that money on nothing.
And
that's like one missile.
Falls, didn't they? Celilo Falls was an original fishing spot for natives. That's where my mom used to fish.
Celilo Falls has the dopest stories about it. That was the trading. That was the mall for like the whole West Coast, all the way up to Alaska, all the way through Canada. Tribes would journey to that incredible falls, because a lot of people don't realize this about the Columbia River, but like it's all kind of calm now. That's because of the dams, right? That's because the dams release a certain amount. But in the old days, when the tribes ran that land, it was tumultuous, man. There was falls and rapids everywhere, and you could literally just stick a net out and catch salmon as they're jumping. Do you know that if we tore those dams down, we could feed this country just eating smoked salmon? Smoked salmon's expensive too. We could give them the good stuff. That's what the tribes eat, right? Even right now in Warm Springs. Right, Ange?
Yeah. A lot of them have their own fishing licenses and fish right off the river where they live, off the Deschutes.
I see them at that little turnoff. We can put the boats in as you're almost to Madras.
Rainbow Market.
So if people at home, what can people at home do right now besides educate themselves, on the treaties? Actually, that would be where I would start. Well, no, let's start by getting water.
Yeah. I mean,
let's start by getting water immediately.
Call the local government and let them know, like, we deserve this water. I think that is the first and foremost important thing that we can all do, is to let the local government know that they deserve their water. We know the history behind it, and that they need to help with it. Basically, that water is a basic human right that they're denying our people. And so I definitely think that that's the first thing. Second, to share, definitely to share what the GoFundMe that Anna posted. And in that GoFundMe is also they have another fund. It's called the Choosh Fund. Choosh, as you can see at the end of that, Choosh means water in the Sahaptin language. So the Choosh Fund, if you don't want to donate at the GoFundMe, you can donate at the Choosh Fund as well. And they're also, so together, there's a girl named Amanda Squipama on Facebook, and she posts the updates on the funds together. And so I can also post that in the comments here once I grab them from her, what the update is. But last I heard, it was up to 124,000 just in the GoFundMe. And so not with the Choosh, I'm assuming it's probably somewhere up to 150,000 now. But that's still a very small percentage of what we need. And so it's also got a lot of information on like, it has the map in there about what our borders used to be, but it's actually, according to the story of the dress, there's bigger guidelines than what she had there. So there's a lot of information on that too. And then just, I think, making sure that everyone's aware that these things are happening is really important too, that people are being denied a basic human right, and they're the protectors of the water. We are the protectors of water. That's why you saw people come and fight Nestle for the Columbia, because that's our land, and it was our land, and we're still going to protect it. So I think that's just really, really important for people to understand that what's happening.
On a slightly related note, the DAPL project, the Dakota Access Pipeline project, looks like it might have reached a judicial climax, which is going to result in the emptying of that particular pipeline. But the point I want people to know is there's 10,000 other ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's 10,000 other ones. Man, that was one. That was one that we got shut down. But here in
4 years.
Speaking of, yeah, right. Speaking of tribes that were forced to cohabitate, don't forget about the Klamath and the Modoc people who shot General Sandy in the face. Because
that's funny.
I have a cousin who's Modoc, actually.
What, Ange?
That's awesome. I'm Warm Springs and Klamath, so I'm a mixture of both those tribes.
Okay, well, they're the name escapes me of the company, but it doesn't really matter. A company is trying to put the pipeline all the way from Klamath Falls to Coos Bay. It's the Jordan Cove project, and that's one close to home. And believe it or not, the people of Coos Bay overwhelmingly voted in favor of it.
Wow.
Coasties, what you gonna do, right?
Isn't Celeste over there too?
Yes.
And Grand Ron?
I don't know if they're that low. I don't know. I don't want to act like a know-it-all.
I don't know where. It's by Lincoln City. That's where Grand Ron Casino is.
But I went all the way down to Ashland to go to a presentation by the company that is making the pipeline, and I watched this map that showed where the pipeline was going to go, and it was like a topographical satellite map, and it crosses over hundreds and hundreds of streams, creeks, waterfalls, all kinds of, not a lot of waterfalls in central southern Oregon, but it crosses over a lot. It ruins a lot of water, and we don't need to do that in 2020. You know, oil and unprocessed petroleum and that tar sand shit and that fracking oil, that is so old school. It should be abandoned along with coal mining, right? That's like still drinking cow's milk or still drinking cigarettes like Diction does when you can easily be vaping. Right?
I actually have family that live in Klamath Falls too, so I will be letting them know right away that this is happening. Because
I'm sure they know. I'm sure they know the battle's been going on for a while, but it's really nearing It's a battle, though. It's just like the DAPL battle. You know, it goes to court. And check this out. The only reason that DAPL has a victory right now is the company didn't follow through with the proper environmental impact studies, right? They're called EISs. And you have to do that before you can start running oil through. But they didn't care. And a lot of these multinational corporations would rather just violate the environmental protections and then just pay a fine later because they're making, you know, tens of millions or billions of dollars. So what's a $200,000 fine from the Army Corps of Engineers, right? They don't care. So they circumvent that process just by cashing out on it. So the judge was like, no. You actually are going to have to drain it to do that. But that doesn't mean that it's over forever. And it parallels what's going on here in Oregon because Kate Brown will veto it, and then somebody else will bump it to another district court, and then it'll go to like the Oregon Supreme Court. But ultimately, like the moment you stop being vigilant, because bad guys are never vigilant, right? Good guys, we don't get paid to be vigilant. Bad guys get paid. That's the unfair advantage, right? Like we wake up and we just do this kind of activism out of the goodness of our heart because we want a better world for our generations to come. But bad guys, they just do it for the Maserati, G, and they get paid. Feel me?
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of the meeting I was in yesterday with the Portland or the independent review board for the Portland Police Bureau. The Portland Police Bureau gets paid. The independent review board doesn't get paid. They have no teeth. They have nothing. They have no monetary backing. So it's the same in a lot of different areas as well.
And you know, all those are the independent police review board is someone that I've spent okay, let me rephrase that. Someone I've wasted a ton of time messing with, right? The independent police review board just makes recommendations, right? Those recommendations were then given up to people who don't give a crap. That's the problem. Like if the people taking the recommendations gave a crap, then perhaps it wouldn't be what we call a toothless tiger, which is another phrase that I seem to only use in Portland, Oregon. A toothless tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The municipal logic of this city drives me crazy. Hey, you know what? Let's take advantage of this opportunity right now to touch on something I really wanted to touch on, which is I told you guys a couple weeks ago that when I got arrested, I was arrested by cops who didn't know who I was. And then they gave me to the Portland Police Bureau who knew who I was. And I told you that I got searched multiple times, had multiple sets of fingerprints taken, and multiple mug shots. And I told you that Ted and the police aren't calling the shots on this. Well, just this morning, it was reported on, I believe KGW took and shared an article that an NBC affiliate had actually written, which quoted actual police officers, and I think it was our assistant chief that actually quoted him as saying that other people on the federal level are making these decisions, and there is a communication gap that exists. And I was going to read the article on the show today, but I'm using the backup laptop, and I don't want to overburden it by having too many windows open. But you can find that. I shared it this morning on my personal Facebook. But it just goes to show that if Ted promises that there'll be no tear gas, he doesn't have the authority to make that decision.
Yep.
It's being made on a federal level by somebody that we don't know. And here's the other problem that we have that I wanted to address today is that Ted doesn't need to be the police commissioner. Ted, as our mayor, should give the police commissioner job to someone else, and then he should act as a liaison on behalf of the people of Portland to communicate with the police, right? Right now, that's not my job to communicate with the police. Even the media, they shouldn't have to go put in a Freedom of Information request, FOI, right?
There was actually a recommendation for this yesterday to replace the commissioner by Dr. Snell. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Snell or know who Dr. Snell is, but he
sounds like a Dr. Seuss character.
You should look him up.
Do you know Dr. Snell? Dr. Snell is very well.
Yeah.
Dr. Snell has
I get where you're going.
Okay.
But,
tell us about Dr. Snell.
He made a recommendation to have no police commissioner. And I can't remember what he said to replace them with, but it sounded like it was very interesting what it sounded like. I think he wanted to have basically multiple police commissioners. I think he said like 7 or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds like Portland. Let's get more cluster.
I don't know. The recommendations on the in the meeting yesterday were interesting.
Are you smoking again, Diction?
It happens.
Oh my god. Commissioner Hardesty suggested subpoena review and to get rid of the independent review board and just have citizens basically reviewing and have subpoena authority for officers to have to show up and be there in person to everything to all the things that they're charged with. And
that's a great idea.
I asked a specific question about that to her. So because I was in the meeting, I asked her what that meant, and I asked her to kind of elaborate on what that was. And then she said I was getting into the more
minutia,
detailed part of it because I asked if that meant we had subpoena authority over documents.
She didn't use the phrase minutia.
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's another Portland phrase. You're getting into the minutia right now.
No, she didn't, but she kind of did get into it a little bit with the guy who trains. I don't remember. They were using a lot of acronyms, but the officers that trains the officers, the guy that was there to speak on behalf of the people that train the officers, they were kind of getting into it a little bit.
Yeah, those meetings are contentious, man. They really are, because it's weird. The ideology of those cops and the cop supporters, the bootlickers, they really think that they're the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
They really think that we are just leftists that just want this chaotic world, and they've convinced themselves that they are the victims and that they are the martyrs, and that's truly psychopathic, right? When the offender begins to identify himself or herself or itself as the victim. Like, brah, you created this. And when I say brah, I mean like the police industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, the same shit we were talking about when I first got you on here, Diction.
Pendulum, negative pendulum. Eats everything in its path to absorb all its energy, create more chaos to feed off of more fucking negative bullshit. Fuck bootlickers.
Man, look, Angela, we'll put it down with the frowns. Addiction's over there. Hey, look, Angela, let's take one at the same time.
Right?
All right.
Here we go.
I think Diction can be like the referee. Somebody screenshot this one.
All right. Who's going to win? Old Iron Lung over here.
Oh,
It's Iron Lung by a nose.
Angela wins. Angela wins.
Thank you.
No,
all right, I gotta go eat something.
I'm not smoking. I'm vaping.
I'm out. I gotta go eat something.
Yeah, get out of here.
Okay,
bye, Angela.
Love you.
Have a good day.
Thanks for letting me talk about that.
It was awesome.
That was awesome. I definitely want to get more involved with that and do something to help. That's really crazy.
Yeah, we can make that move, man. As soon as we get done with this show, I'll reach out to Jay and just be like, yo, player, let us drop some shit off here. And then I'll get a couple other spots in the city and we'll make them be drop-off spots. And then all you got to do is set that water out for 2 weeks to make sure it doesn't have the coronavirus.
Oh, yeah. Damn, that whole thing.
Right? Isn't that the
Sometimes
move?
I forget about it. You'd think it'd be impossible, but like, yeah, I guess I haven't been out in society other than to get cigarettes in a while.
Damn, Ashanti sent me something. It's a GoFundMe that I probably should share. It's called Caravan Seattle to DC, organized by Mark Hall. It's on GoFundMe. Go check it out. Looks like just a caravan to go to. Oh, boom! Thank you, Amy. Oh, that was dope. Oh yeah, Diction, you look really cool in this. Man, these screenshots are turning out to be dope ass promo. Okay,
all right,
look,
that's what's up.
Diction, I know you got some shit that you still want to get off your chest that you're like, damn, I should have said that, and now we're talking about other shit, so we can loop it back around.
All right, yeah.
Hey, you know how my vibration is right now, bro. You know, when I leave this place and step into the sunshine,
dude, I feel you. I definitely feel like I'm in the vortex right now because part of my plan and everything. Well, this wasn't my plan, but part of the bridge of incidents was I got this overwhelming feeling to call this really successful friend of mine I hadn't talked to in a while, and he's writing this spiritual book on all these different concepts. I don't know enough about him to do him justice right now, but they're really interesting. I'll have to talk to him later. He might be a good guest to have on at some point. He ran a head shop that he owned in Venice Beach for years. He's from Shoals, but he moved to LA when we were 18, never came back anyway. And his advice was like, hey, man, I'm just getting this overwhelming feeling to tell you, like, you should have a show at some point. And I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting, but whatever. And then literally the next day, boom, you call me like, hey, you want to start coming on my show? And I'm like, sure. So I'm like, okay, I look at it as just as part of the bridge of incidents or whatever. But
man, you know, the other day I felt a physical level up, right? Like there was just a couple of things I figured out on this software. And I know it might seem trivial to some people, but I'm pretty obsessed with this show, right? And the continued growth of it. And so I'm always watching tutorials and reading these long ass group chats and just, right? But right. I felt like the old software was really bogging me down. And then I hit this new software and I figured some shit out. And I was like, boom. And I physically felt like glitter was falling on me, right?
Yeah, you know, you on the bridge of incidents then, baby.
Right. And then my score started tallying up, like boom, boom, boom. My health meter went up. My experience level went up, right? I got a couple.
You went into the vortex.
Right. New combos. Like, here's a new combo you unlocked. I was like, okay. Bro. Then I was like, all right, well, let's see who matches that vibration now. Now I'm hitting at a little higher tone. Boom. My gong is a little bit bigger font. We went from like 14 point to 16 point, right? So it's like, all right, let's see who resonates. And it's been a real fun experience just seeing who shows up and who accepts invites or who invites me to shit. It's really dope. Like, and I kind of equate it in my brain. You ever flown over like from Seattle to like, well, I've seen it in Kansas City. So look, mountaintops, the peaks of these mountains sit above the cloud line.
Okay, yeah.
When you get up there, those mountain peaks become like people, right? They get personified. They turn into like wise people. And that space above the clouds becomes a metaphor for the space that's inside your head, right? And when you're up there in your head, there's a lot of extra room up there, right? You can sit inside your head and just look around forever and be like, damn, this trippy ass shit. Oh, look, it's that stuffed animal I had when I was 2. What are you doing in my, on the back of my eyelids? Right? Where did you come from? And so, but when you're up there in that rarefied air above the clouds, there's just you and those mountain peaks, man. And the vibration up there is so solemn and so gong. And that gong of those mountains is so eternal, right? And even though those mountains they're not infinite themselves in their creation as they grew from seismic events, and whatever, the formation of the earth from magma or whatever, fake moon hashtag. We are just but little buzzing jingle bells, right? We're nothing but like a string on the back of a horse. Just jing, 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 jing. And then every time you jingle a little less shrill, a little more solid, a little more confident, a little more experienced, a little more refined, a little more chiseled or cultured or developed or advanced. And then you're trying to work from, man, check this out. The Buddha only said shit once. I'm gonna repeating it, right? Jesus only said shit once, and people are still repeating it. Now, compare that to your nagging spouse, your nagging girlfriend, your coworker who always tells dumb jokes. Man, telling the same joke and still nobody laughs. You yelling at me every day and still nobody cares. It's not changing anything, right? There's no vibrational input that touches me on a level that resonates with what I'm accepting, right? So then the goal is to be like Jesus or to be like the Buddha, but then be like those mountain peaks in the rarefied air where you're looking down upon this insane society, right? Where you only to dip your eyeballs into the aquarium, not go swimming in the aquarium. Just dip your eyeballs.
That's like waking up in the dream, or they call that like a lot. I've noticed a lot of the people call it being the observer and these things.
Talk about that.
So actually, this book that I'm reading right now that's really interesting. So we've talked about Neville Goddard before, and there's this amazing woman who actually was a scientist, went to Oxford, used to be a speaker on the BBC, and she reconnected with the roots of Neville Goddard because her mom taught her about it as a kid. And she talks about that in this book where it has exercises on how to take the things that Neville Goddard uses and has exercises to actually do them. Her name is Catherine, probably butchering this, but Gingendi, I think. It's Jegede.
Check this out, G. When you turn your head sideways, we can't understand anything you're saying for some reason.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so anyway, her name is Catherine J.
You can move the book.
Oh, okay. Well, here you go. So you can see the name because I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Really interesting, and it's cool because she went to disprove this stuff, and this book actually challenged you to take the exercises and do that. But in what we were talking about, she talks about being the observer because Neville Goddard, and she gets into this in here, and it's great because she went from religion to out of it to science to completely into science, like Oxford, and then being on BBC to going back to these teachings. And Neville Goddard writes that basically the Bible is not a historical document about a guy that lived, but it's a story of a psychological theater about you being God, that basically you are Jesus, all that stuff, and that everything is you pushed out kind of a thing. So she talks about being the observer of that, of realizing that, like, okay, yeah, in the same tone, we are definitely that small jingle bell, but at the same time, we're that mountain too. You know what I mean? But this book is pretty... what I like about it is it challenges you to challenge the teachings and put the different practices to use to see if it works. But she talks about being the observer. Vadim Zeland talks about that in here because really the exercise of waking up in the dream is being the observer as well, as so that you're finding. What's that?
When you say that we're the jingle bell and the gong, I would say that maybe we have the potential to be the jingle bell and the gong, yet to activate that takes great strength, right? To swing the mallet that hits the gong, to even budge the gong, right?
Maybe. Or maybe like Esther Hicks says, it's simply just not resisting it and allowing you to be what you are in the first place. Maybe just realizing it does it. I'm still on this journey, and I can't profess to know more than any one person, but I can just propose questions and keep going on the journey. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's when you want to Timothy Lake it. That's when you want to just put your mind that you're already gonging at the high vibration, and then just retro engineer that shit.
Because you put me on to Abraham Hicks, and one of the things that it's very simple, and somebody could get turned off because it's very repetitive, but I like that about it. And basically what it kind of gets into, which was nice, because I have trouble going into the flow sometimes, or I want to make it happen. I'm like, action. And it gets you to step back for a second and be like, hey, you're already all this shit. All you have to do is just step back and allow that to come through. Stop pinching it off, let it come through. And then if you're having trouble doing that, great. Well, then pick something simple that you can enjoy. and raise your vibration slowly, or the thing where you hold the positive thought for 17 seconds over and do it 4 times in a row to 68 seconds, and then you feel your vibration click up or whatever. And that's kind of being an observer too. You're just observing that well-being is already flowing through you at all times, as long as you allow it and don't resist it.
Man, that's the perfect way to end the show. Hey, I'm gonna get out of here.
All right.
It's a beautiful day. What are you doing today, man? We going to the river? We barbecuing? What are we doing?
Not anything with a lot of people, because I'm staying with my folks and temporarily, and my mom's got like a immune disorder thing. I don't want to like cause any issues with that, so I'm trying to be safe in general. But I'm going to the studio later. I am down to get down with like small groups of people. You know what I mean? That where you keep a nice amount of space. You know. What I mean?
Check this out. Check this out. Tonight at the other Flight Lounge location, the one on 72nd and Herald. The people from what the heck is it called? Pretty Dope Experience. Rapidusky, Fight Church. Rapidusky's gonna have exclusive I don't know, smoke party where they're gonna broadcast from. I'll be there late tonight, but that ain't too far away from where you are.
Yeah, I'm going to be downtown at the studio. I'm meeting up with actually Zane Thomas. He's a great comedian, and shout out to Zane Thomas. But we're supposed to link up and work on some stuff there. I'm into it so long as, like I said, it's not some, I ain't trying to act like shit's back to normal again. Not so much for me, but my immediate family. So if it's, a small group of people, that's cool. But I ain't trying to just going over. I mean, and if people want to do that, cool. But I'm not trying to go around mass groups of people and act like shit's just normal. I can't,
Okay, I'll keep you posted.
Definitely, it'd be dope to link up. Either way, vacation coming up soon. We'll do that trip to the Vortex.
I kind of just want to go camping.
Yo, I can't wait to swim if it ever. But I mean, the water's got to be like glacial at this point, like Antarctica status, right?
No, I swam like 2 weeks ago for a while, sober.
Was it crazy? Was it like just freezing polar bear status?
Bro, you know how I get down. I'll fucking cold ass water.
Yeah, I'll bet the Southern Oregon will be better, right? You think?
The first couple times that I swam this year, it was super, super cold. Then I just jumped in, swam around, and jumped out. This last time, 2 weeks ago, the water temperature had improved enough that the water temperature had improved enough that I was able to go.
Oh, thanks, Mallory. Well, if Central Oregon water is good, then we're going to Southern Oregon. We should be great. We could hit some spots along the way down there. Because the Vortex is in Jackson County, and I know there's some dope rivers. It's probably got to be some ill swim spots on the way in around by there.
Right. Okay. Remember, you guys, for all your dope apparel that expresses your political views from as far away as your enemy can see, get those edgy shirts. I'm not wearing an edgy shirt. I'm wearing my dishwasher shirt from Hawaii today. I got
this from Cool Nuts like a week ago.
Oh, no way. I didn't even see that. That's dope.
Yeah, it's the old school Just Family Records logo. It's pretty dope.
That's super dope. Cool Nuts gave that to you?
I bought it. You want to support his business, you know what I mean? Okay. And it's a dope shirt.
I was like, he gave that to you? He gave that to you?
We did shoot a video a few weeks ago and probably drop in September that's really dope. But I purchased it. I'd rather support support what he's doing.
No, of course. Okay, well, look, if you want other shirts, go to standupandfightback.bigcartel.com. Also, don't forget, tonight at the other Flight Lounge on 72nd Herald, pretty dope flight experience. My man Rappy Dusky will be playing cuts, having fun, smoking, smoke competition. Also, Don't forget that later on today here at the Sandy Boulevard Flight Lounge, we have Tapas y Sangria at 4:20 and 6 p.m. Catch a Tapas flight. Those tickets are $24. And they're going to feed you and weed you because they don't need you. Okay, you guys, remember this. If I don't say 5,000 G at the end of the show, it's because the cops have my phone. So I'd like to thank my guest, Diction Uno. We didn't even talk about your new music that just dropped.
Oh yeah, I dropped a new single today. It's on all platforms. It's called Cash Only, featuring Emiliano Raps. Hit it on Spotify. I'd appreciate it. Trying to get my plays up. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Help a guy out like that. And then Angela Foster came on to tell us about the Warm Springs water situation. Let me see if I can find that fundraiser website one more time before I get off the air. There we go. Hey, thanks again, Anna, for putting that up for us,
Yeah.
man. I use that more than anyone else. And there's another good one though. It says, "Diction, you have amazing knowledge." Yo, Diction.
Yo, thank you.
Hey man, y'all know I take this shit serious. I wouldn't have no charlatans talking shop with me. Diction is actually the one who turned me on to the book that I got too lazy and listened to on YouTube that taught me all the Jedi shit I learned in Dagobah. Eden Rock. Okay, so remember this, guys. The warm water. Oh no, I just read warm. Look, that's funny. Hold on, let me go back to this comment. Warm Springs needs clean water. Help out, right? So I just read it all one time and just said warm water. Anyways, I'm really trying to get out of here because we're trying to make this a 2-hour show. So remember this. This is brought to you by the 5XL. Brought to you by Fight Church Television. We do dope shit. Filmed exclusively at Flight Lounge Cafe. And brought to you by Fuck the Police. That's Bear Mace, by the way. All right, y'all. 5,000, G.
I think we can just say